everybody, it's Katie, back with another episode of my vlog, and of course it's Sunday, so it's time for the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Unless you live under a rock, you know that Christmas was just a few days ago, so we spent most of this week finishing up our seasonal Christmas viewing, starting last week on Sunday with the original Miracle on 34th Street from 1947, of course starring Maureen O'Hara, Natalie Wood, and Edmund Gwenn as Kris Kringle, in a role I think most people remember him for. He's been in a lot of other movies, but that's kind of the one that everyone remembers him for. Of course, I'm talking about the original of this movie. I don't like remakes very much. We went back and watched this one kind of side by side with It's a Wonderful Life, was our sort of older Christmas movies selections for this year, and we loved it. It was fantastic. I had really fond memories of watching this movie as a kid. I had not watched it as an adult at all, and it was great to go back and watch it as an adult. I really related to Maureen O'Hara's character of the skeptical, no-nonsense kind of business lady. I didn't relate too much in that she was completely anti the magic of Christmas, because if you guys have been paying attention to my vlog, you know I'm really into the magic of Christmas. But I did appreciate her character in the movie. Of course, Natalie Wood, as a child, basically carries the whole movie along with Edmund Gwenn, who plays Kris Kringle. If you've never seen this film, it is the story of a woman who's producing the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The Santa that they've hired to be in the parade turns up drunk. And so Kris Kringle, who's the real Santa Claus, takes his place in the parade and then becomes a store Santa working at Macy's during the Christmas season. It gets out that he thinks he's the real Santa Claus, because he is. And everyone around him, who is a skeptical adult character, doesn't believe that he's the real Santa Claus, and in fact thinks he's crazy for asserting that he is Kris Kringle. They proceed to then have this pretty well done court case where they're basically deciding if they need to lock this guy up in an insane asylum or if he's cool. And the court case becomes actually, we need this judge to rule on whether or not Santa Claus actually exists. And if Santa actually exists, is this man the real Santa Claus? I'm not going to give you guys spoilers on this one because I definitely would encourage you to watch it. It's now a little bit late in the season, but maybe put it on your list for next year. It's a really awesome movie, very heartwarming, very well done, well written, well acted. Just all around pretty great. I did learn in my research for this vlog that kind of two interesting notes. Number one is all the scenes at the Thanksgiving Day Parade were filmed at the real Thanksgiving Day Parade. They didn't set it up. They had to actually just go out and film the scenes for the movie on the fly while the parade was going on, which I imagine was pretty chaotic and stressful, but it came out really well in the movie. The other bizarre thing of note for this movie is apparently it was released in June instead of in December. And the studio that released it, they put out a trailer that basically hid the fact that it's a Christmas movie. So they released a Christmas movie in June, I guess with the theory that movies released in the summer do better than movies released in the winter. But then they had this trailer for it that doesn't hint at the Christmas theme at all. So that must have been weird as a moviegoer if you were the type who went, like, you know, as soon as a movie came out back in the day, to go see this movie in June that you didn't know was a Christmas movie that turns out to be like the king of all Christmas movies of all time. I don't know. Very bizarre to release a Christmas movie in June, but I guess it worked for them because this is a timeless classic that people love. So Miracle on 34th Street, put it on your list for next year at Christmas. After that, we launched into our annual viewing of various Christmas holiday specials, all of the different animated things that are less than a full-length movie, but brilliant nonetheless. So first on that list was The Year Without a Santa Claus from 1974. That is a Rankin Bass stop-motion animated special about Santa Claus, who's voiced by Mickey Rooney, who does a great job. Basically just giving up and calling it quits because he's tired of doing his job and people not appreciating him. So Mrs. Claus has to use some tricky tactics to try and get Santa to go do his thing. I don't want to say too much about this one either, except that it's really weird. It's just very bizarre. Out of all the Rankin Bass animated Christmas specials, it's definitely the weirdest one. And kind of the centerpiece of the whole thing, I think the piece that everyone remembers from this particular special are the characters of Heat Miser and Snow Miser, who are these two temperature extreme characters who sing, it's one song, but they each kind of have a half of the song that they sing in the movie. And I think that's kind of the standout piece of this movie for, well, everybody. I mean, for me, for sure. But I think for most people, that's the thing they remember from this one. It's bizarre. It's wonderful. It's fun. The songs are pretty good. And you watch it for Heat Miser and Snow Miser. So I will note Snow Miser is voiced by Dick Shawn, who, if you've seen the producers, the original, no remakes, Dick Shawn is the one, the actor who plays the hippie actor, LSD, who winds up playing Hitler in the production inside of the producers. So it's kind of a funny little link up there. The next night after that, we watched A Charlie Brown Christmas from 1965 and How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966. These are two of our family's favorite animated Christmas time, I was going to say movies, but they're television specials. They're each just under half an hour long because they're designed to be a half hour with commercials on TV. Charlie Brown Christmas is a really interesting one. That is the first time that the Peanuts gang actually became animated and were made into a cartoon instead of just being on the comics page. And Bill Melendez, who's the director of that special and several of the other ones, was very, very insistent that the characters actually be voiced by children, not by adults playing children. And in a lot of cases, not even by child actors, but just by kids who had no experience acting. He really wanted it to feel like it was made by kids. And it really does feel that way. The voice actors are all children. There's a children's choir singing in the show, and it's pretty great. It's a little bit all over the place. Charlie Brown is depressed at Christmas. He's trying to figure out the true meaning of the holiday. Lucy pushes him to direct the Christmas play. Linus, of course, wants to preach at Charlie Brown and tell him about the religious meaning of Christmas. And of course, as we all know, Charlie Brown goes out and gets that terribly gaunt, scrawny little Christmas tree. And then through the magic of Christmas, it becomes a wonderful, perfect Christmas tree in the end. I will note one interesting thing about this one is Lucy is completely on Charlie Brown's side in this cartoon. She is 100% sympathetic to his character. She tries to help him out. She's the one who suggests that he direct the Christmas play that they're doing. And at no point anywhere in this cartoon is she mean to Charlie Brown. And so I found myself wondering where that line was. Like, when in the history of Peanuts does Lucy become mean to Charlie Brown? Because by the time you get to the Halloween special, she's nasty to him in that one. So I'm curious as to that. If any of you are like major Charlie Brown or Peanuts historians and you know the answer to this one, I would love to hear about it. If for some reason you've never seen A Charlie Brown Christmas, definitely watch it. It doesn't even have to be Christmas time, but obviously it helps. It's an incredible cartoon. It has a lot of heart. It's really fun. And just really special as far as these specials go. I will also note, I learned in my research that the folks who made it in 6 months, which is insane of a timeline for this thing. And most of the people involved thought that it actually didn't come out well and it was going to be a bomb. And look how wrong they were. It's like one of the greatest and most classic of all time. So probably maybe second to what we watched right after it, which is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Again, the original from 1966. I don't want any movies with Jim Carrey. I don't want any CGI remakes of anything. Just give me Chuck Jones doing Dr. Seuss, starring Boris Karloff, song sung by Thurl Ravenscroft, who's also Tony the Tiger, in case you didn't know that. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's incredible. It's just a stone cold classic. So many favorite parts of this cartoon. Probably my favorite just forever is the animated sequences with Max the dog pulling the overloaded sleigh. There's some really, really great animation there. But also that one little bit where the Grinch is like slithering around like a snake under the Christmas tree. Oh, so good. And has a heartwarming Christmas story, as we know. I think everybody and their dog has seen this cartoon a bunch of times, so I'm not going to tell you what it's about. But if for some reason you've never seen the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, please give that one a watch. Again, it doesn't even have to be Christmas time for you to watch that one, but it totally helps. So there's my recommendation there. And then the next day we watched our family's favorite version of A Christmas Carol, which is Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. That is from 1962, directed by Abe Levitow. It is actually the first Christmas special made for TV animated of the whole bunch that was ever made. It's longer than the other ones. It's designed to be an hour on TV, so I think its runtime is about 50 minutes or so. And it has this sort of framing device where Mr. Magoo comes to a theater where he is starring in a theatrical production of A Christmas Carol as, of course, Ebenezer Scrooge. But there's this whole opening part where he has to get to the theater on time to, hit his cue and be in the show, which is pretty fun. They also put in a bunch of these kind of like crowd shots of the theater in between at the ad breaks, right? So like in between the acts of the play that we're watching, you get this longer shot where you realize, oh yeah, I am sitting in a theater with a little bit of, audience applause noise and stuff like that. It works pretty well as a framing device, especially because we have a known cartoon character of Mr. Magoo being in this other narrative story, not playing as Mr. Magoo, but it's Mr. Magoo playing Ebenezer Scrooge. I will note this story version of the story takes the ghosts out of the correct order. In this one, it's Christmas present, then Christmas past, then Christmas yet to come. And normally they go in chronological order, but it works really well in this one. The other thing that I notice every time I watch this cartoon is how incredible the backgrounds are. The animation on the characters is awesome, but the backgrounds and the settings that they're inside of are amazing. There's this restricted art style with a very limited color palette used. It's really stylized and it is so beautiful. It's this perfect, late 50s, early 60s thing. And it just knocks my socks off every time I watch this cartoon. The backgrounds are so beautiful. It is, I wouldn't say they overshadow the action in any way. They do the job of a good background, but man, they really stand out as incredible backgrounds also. And of course, everyone's favorite part of this particular version of the story is the part with the spirit of Christmas yet to come, when he's showing Scrooge the thieves who have stolen his goods from around his dead body, and they sing an incredible musical number called We're Despicable. And it's, if you're a hooray for the bad guys type, which we are around here, that particular song and dance number is pretty great. I'm going to see if I can find it on YouTube and link it down below. If you guys have never watched Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, at least just hit that link and watch this one song because it's really, really fun. And they rhyme reprehensible with pen and pensible. So I appreciate that. And it is my favorite, like I said. So, and that pretty much wraps up our Christmas viewing for this year. Now, I did mention last week, I have had a long-standing tradition of watching a Kung Fu movie on Christmas Day. And I realized this year that I believe I might be off by 1 year, but I believe this is the 30th year in a row, that I have watched a Kung Fu movie on Christmas Day as part of my holiday tradition. I started doing this when I was a teenager. I grew up in Berkeley, California, and I used to go to the UC Theater all the time. If you're from Berkeley, if you've ever been to the UC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the UC was this beautiful old theater that showed art house and repertory films only, and they changed the calendar daily. So they would put out this crazy paper calendar every few months, and you had to go through and look at all these different crazy double bills and amazing weird features that they would have at the UC. And they had this tradition for a while of showing a Kung Fu movie on Christmas Day. So I started doing that when I was 14 or 15, I'm not positive, and I'm pretty sure the very first one that I saw was Drunken Master. So we decided to go back to that for this year's Christmas Day Kung Fu movie pick, and we watched Drunken Master, of course, 1978, starring Jackie Chan. It is such an incredibly fun and amazing Kung Fu movie. If you've never watched Drunken Master, you owe it to yourself to watch this one. Even if you're not a fan of Kung Fu movies, I feel like this is like the one, you know? Excuse me. It is, like so many of these movies, it's a story about a young man who's studying Kung Fu, and there's a conflict, or for some reason, he's getting in trouble, and he gets told by his dad he has to go study with a much more strict Kung Fu master. He then runs away because he doesn't want to actually have to apprentice under the guy who's going to like really work him hard. And when he runs away, he gets into some other trouble, and he gets defended by this local drunk. The local drunk actually turns out to be the super strict Kung Fu master who he was running away from in the first place. But having been introduced to him in this other way, our hero, Freddie Wong, that's Jackie Chan's character, then agrees to actually study Kung Fu under the Drunken Master. And the type of Kung Fu that the Drunken Master is teaching to Freddie Wong is Drunken Kung Fu. There's 8 different forms that he's supposed to learn. And one of them is like a drunken lady, and he finds that one to be too feminine for him. So he masters 7 of the 8 forms, and then has to go into the final battle against, oh, what's the guy's name? It's like Thunderleg or something. He's just like kicking style Kung Fu. And so Freddie Wong has to use all of his drunken fighting styles that he's learned from the Drunken Master to defeat this Thunderleg character. And in the end, he actually does mix all the 7 styles that he's learned up to perform an 8th style, which is the Drunken Lady Kung Fu. This movie is incredible. It's funny, it's full of heart, it's got incredible Kung Fu fighting scenes, some of the best I've ever seen. And it just as a package is a really great, really, really fun Kung Fu movie. If you like Drunken Master, if you watch it and you like it, Drunken Master 2, also awesome. And there's a ton of stuff that was inspired by Drunken Master, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. I am just going to say Drunken Master for sure. If you've never seen it, give it a watch, give it a try. I think you guys will like it. If you are a Kung Fu fan, you've probably already seen it because it's like one of the most important Kung Fu movies in all of history. But it's a really, really great, really fun, action-packed, funny watch. Totally recommended for everybody. 10 out of 10 required viewing around here. And that brings us up to yesterday. I actually wanted to watch the new Wonder Woman movie, but I couldn't get it together. Whatever, like my logins for my online streaming stuff weren't working. So, oh well, I'll try again tonight. And we had to quickly come up with an alternate thing. And I have been really wanting to inspire my kids. They've been getting into not making movies necessarily, but these short little things. They're not putting them on TikTok yet, but like it feels like they're about to any day now. And I've been trying to inspire them with like, what can you do with no budget, but just like tons of imagination? So Plan 9 from Outer Space, right? Of course, from 1959, directed by Ed Wood, starring Tor Johnson, Vampira, Bela Lugosi's in it. It's the last Bela Lugosi movie. He actually wasn't like in it, but Ed Wood had filmed him for another project years before. The other project didn't work out, and so he busted out the footage that he had of Lugosi and put it into Plan 9 from Outer Space. if you've never seen Plan 9, it is one of the worst, best, somethings B movies ever made. It's got a ton of technical problems. It's got bad writing. It's got plot holes. It's got people wearing the wrong kinds of costumes or sets that look like they're made out of cardboard. There's scenes where you can see the mic on the boom like drop into frame, or you can see like folding chairs being used in an airplane cockpit. I mean, it's hilariously poorly done, but it has so much heart. It's not bad, you know? Like some people say it's so bad it's good, but it's actually better than that, if that makes sense. But it has a lot of problems, and it's fun to watch it from the point of view of, okay, I'm thinking about making my own low budget or no budget movie. What could I do? What could I get away with? What can I put in there without having access to a studio and Hollywood and all of that stuff? So again, this isn't like a good movie to watch, but it's a really fun movie to watch, and especially if you want to be inspired about making your own movies. So, and it's always my goal to inspire people. So hopefully the kids enjoyed it and it rubbed off on them a little bit. And I'm going to wait probably about a week and a half, and then I'm going to show them the Ed Wood movie made by Tim Burton starring Johnny Depp, because I think that'll give them a more full understanding of what Ed Wood was trying to do and what Plan 9 from Outer Space is really all about. Very fun one though, and if you guys have never seen it and you like cheesy old B movies, science fiction horror from the late 50s, definitely check out Plan 9 from Outer Space. But like, count the number of weird mistakes in this movie. It's pretty hilarious. And that's what we watched this week. Now, it is also the last Cinema Club Roundup of the year, so I thought I would really quickly review what new movies came out in 2020 that we actually enjoyed. And normally I would make like a top 10, but not that many movies came out this year because of COVID. So I went back and I looked at the list of all the movies that came out this year, and I realized there's only 4 that we saw that I even thought were worth mentioning. Or even were good. So in chronological order, they are Gretel and Hansel, which came out back in January. That one I really enjoyed a lot, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you like fairy tales, dark fairy tales, different takes on classic stories, that type of thing. Very, very fun one. I did review that one. I actually reviewed all of these on Cinema Club because I watched them all this year. So you can go back through the archive and find the Gretel and Hansel review I did. If you want me to go more in depth on that, I did. Let's see, this year also we saw The Five Bloods, which is Spike Lee's movie that he made about Vietnam vets going back. That one was really great. It was very touching and emotional, and everybody did a great job in that one, but Delroy Lindo really stole the show in that movie. Those were the 2 really good movies that came out this year that we saw. Excuse me. Now we also saw Borat's subsequent movie film and Fat Man just like a week ago. And those were both worth watching, but I wouldn't call either one of them like great or like moving or anything like that. I also did note that there were a couple of other movies that came out this year that we saw, but contemporary children's movies, Sonic the Hedgehog and Scoob, I was like, could I just like claw my brain out of my head and like erase this from my memory? They were awful. So not recommending those, or pretty much any other kids movie that came out this year. I didn't see all of the different animated stuff, but don't see Sonic or Scoob. Those sucked. So yeah, what a weird year for movies this was. Hoping we get more releases next year, but who knows what 2021 is going to bring. So that's it for me for Cinema Club for this week and for the end of this year. As usual, I would love to hear about what you guys have been watching this week. What were your Christmas picks that you watched right up to the day? Or what you have planned for coming up? Is there like something cool to watch on New Year's Eve or a new thing that's coming out maybe in January that you're excited about, let me know down in the comments. I'm always curious to hear about that stuff. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I will be back in a couple more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, stay safe out there and thanks so much for watching.